Alright, let's dive into something that's been buzzing in the tech world lately, the Galaxy Z Fold 8 versus the Fold 8 Ultra. Specifically, we're talking cameras, and whether that telephoto zoom on the Ultra is worth the extra $200. Personally, I think this is a question a lot of us have, especially if you're considering dropping nearly $2,000 on a foldable phone. So, let's break it down. First off, the hook here is simple. Does a dedicated telephoto lens actually make a difference? The Fold 8 Ultra has one, while the regular Fold 8 relies on digital zoom. Now, I've seen a lot of camera comparisons, but what makes this really interesting is the context of foldable phones. These devices are already pushing the boundaries of what a smartphone can do, and camera quality is a huge part of that. So, is the Ultra's telephoto lens a game changer, or just a nice-to-have? Let's start with the basics. The Fold 8 Ultra's 3x telephoto lens sounds impressive on paper, especially compared to the Fold 8's digital zoom. But here's the thing, in real-world use, the difference isn't always as dramatic as you'd expect. For example, at 4x zoom, both phones hold their own. Sure, the Ultra might have slightly sharper text or clearer details in certain shots, but it's not a night and day difference. What many people don't realize is that digital zoom has come a long way, and in some cases, it's almost as good as optical zoom, especially when you're not pushing it too far. Now, where the Ultra starts to pull ahead is at higher zoom levels, like 10x. Here, the dedicated telephoto lens really shines. The details are crisper, the edges are sharper, and overall, the image quality is better. But here's my take, unless you're regularly zooming in that far, is it worth the extra $200? In my opinion, probably not. Most of us aren't using our phones as telescopes, we're taking everyday photos, and for that, the Fold 8's digital zoom is more than sufficient. Another detail I find fascinating is how the two phones handle different lighting conditions. In some shots, like the Times Square comparison, the Fold 8 actually produces a brighter, more vibrant image. This raises a deeper question. Is a slightly better zoom worth sacrificing other aspects of image quality? Personally, I think it's a trade-off that doesn't always make sense. If you take a step back and think about it, the Fold 8 Ultra's telephoto lens is just one part of a larger package. It's got a bigger screen, longer battery life, and a few other perks. But those come at a cost, literally. The Fold 8, on the other hand, is lighter, more compact, and still packs a punch in terms of performance. So, while the Ultra's camera is technically better, it's not the only factor to consider. What this really suggests is that the choice between these two phones comes down to priorities. If you're a photography enthusiast who needs that extra zoom, the Ultra might be worth it. But for the average user, the Fold 8 offers a fantastic camera experience without the premium price tag. One thing that immediately stands out is how Samsung is pushing the boundaries of what's possible with foldable phones, but they're also forcing us to think about what we're willing to pay for. In my opinion, the telephoto zoom on the Ultra is a nice feature, but it's not a deal-breaker. What makes this really interesting is how it highlights the broader trend in smartphones. Companies are constantly adding new features to justify higher prices, but not all of them are essential. From my perspective, the Fold 8 strikes a better balance between innovation and value. So, here's my closing thought. Before you shell out that extra $200 for the Ultra, ask yourself how often you'll actually use that telephoto zoom. If the answer is rarely, you might be better off saving your money. And if you're like me, you'll appreciate the Fold 8's lighter design and still impressive camera. What do you guys think? Is the telephoto zoom worth it, or is Samsung charging too much for a marginal upgrade? Let me know in the comments, I'm curious to hear your take.